How well does your retirement plan handle stress? I'm Derek Mazzarella, and I'm a CFP with Gateway Financial Partners. Today, we're going to talk about what are some of the things we should be looking at and seeing how our retirement plan can actually handle different issues that may come up in retirement. So inevitably, things can go wrong. So how prepared are we? A lot of people don't really have these conversations until something happens. So one of the tools I use is Right Capital, and that's my financial planning software tool. One of the reasons I do kind of like these is because we can actually check and see how resilient is your retirement to different financial stresses. One of the big things we're looking at right now, especially with everything going on in the market, is can your plan handle a market drop? And what does that look like? And one of the big risks is actually not a market drop happening 10 years into retirement. It's what happens if it happens right now? How does that impact your retirement? So you see here we have our baseline plan. These percentages are what's called a Monte Carlo simulation. So basically, this plan runs your retirement 1,000 times. Does it do well in a good market? Great. How does it do in a bad market? So if you ran this sample 1,000 times based on what a person has for assets and what they're spending, there's about a 25% chance that they may have to make adjustments in their retirement. So that's what our baseline is. And then we'll see, okay, we're going to look at, what happens with a market drop? How does that impact things? What happens with taxes? What about Social Security changing, longevity, inflation, healthcare, and just poor returns over time? So these are really the financial risks that exist in retirement, and it's really important to go through each one of these and figure out, okay, can we match this? Is there a big risk factor here? Do we need to make any changes? So the first one you see here is a market drop by 30%, and this is an immediate market drop. So that means taking your portfolio value now and having the market drop by 30%. As you see here, this fake person's portfolio doesn't change a whole lot. Let's see. They go from having 75% chance basically to almost 70. So not a huge deal. They can most likely handle a market crash. Next, what happens if taxes, right? What if taxes are higher by 20%? Okay, this person's plan is pretty tax resilient. There's not going to be a huge change. We probably don't need to make too many things, but we should be aware of some tax planning things we could do. Like, does it make sense to have more Roth dollars now? Should we be putting some of that stuff in later? Now with Social Security, what if it's reduced by 20%? Now that could be a big issue. A lot of this person's plan is really based on having consistent income. The only income source it looks like they have that's consistent is Social Security. So if that does drop by 20%, it looks like they don't have enough assets to really make up for that. And it's almost a 50-50 shot that they may have to make some adjustments to their portfolio. Doesn't mean they're going to run out of money. Generally, at that point, you're just going to start spending less. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. Now, longevity. What if a person lives 5 years longer? Okay, so this assumes they're living at age 90, but what if they live, even a little bit longer here? Maybe they're living to 99 or 100. How does that impact their plan? Right here, refresh. Got to wait for the nice spinning wheel here. But you'll get to see, okay, what are the real impacts? Okay, so living to 100, they can still probably do it, but it definitely decreases the risk here. Looking at inflation, how are we handling inflation? So in looking at this, fake person's plan, we want to say, okay, the real risks are we don't have a good asset return. We have some inflation issues. We're maybe living too long, and if Social Security gets reduced, which is a real fear for a lot of people. So we got to look at, okay, what are the things we need to do? Do we need to supplement consistent income over time? Like, for example, maybe annuities or income annuities. That could help with longevity, and that could help with covering up some Social Security income. And it can maybe even reduce the need for assets to return a higher rate of return over time, because you maybe have a consistent income coming in to cover your expenses. So some of the things that we're going to look at is how do we make changes to your plan to offset some of the risks available, but definitely going through this exercise and seeing where is your plan vulnerable from different risk factors in retirement can really lead to a good outcome later on. Because what, I don't know which one of these things will happen to you, but I guarantee one or two of them probably will happen to you at some point in your retirement. So we need to be aware of, okay, what are the real risk factors we have and how do we combat them?